Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if this is your first time here. I'm May, and this is going to be my August wrap-up. I've been doing these since I started this channel, and I haven't really found a format that I really love. So I'm still trying out ideas, and in this one, I'm going to film every time I finish a book, but I've already screwed up because I did a read with me for the week, and I didn't talk about any of those books for this video. So I'm just going to essentially give you a summary of those 4 books, and then with the 5th book that I just read today, we'll start this actual progress. I'm not going to go too in detail because obviously that read with me for the week video is like my live reactions and my reviews and my thoughts, so that's already there. I'll link it below so you guys can go watch that if you would desire. But the first 4 books that I read this month was The Last Draig by J.D. Linton, Heartless by Elsie Silver, and then Idea Enough Sunlight by Devney Perry. And then I read Wildbound by Elaine Baker, I think is the author's name. And I didn't really love it, any of them. I gave The Last Draig a 4-star. I gave Heartless a 3.75. I did DNF Sunlight, and then I gave Wildbound a 3.75. And I'll give you a little bit of summary about those, a very small summary, but Last Draig is the 2nd book in a fantasy series. It's like very TikTok famous. That's where I found it off of, and it's a very typical fantasy where there is shifters, which are dragons pretty much. It's just a very basic fantasy. There's nothing special about it. Like when I try to think of the plot, I'm like, there's really nothing to really say. Like if you like dragons and you like fantasy, it'll be a book for you. And then Heartless is a single dad cowboy romance where he needs help with his son, so he hires a nanny, and then he ends up falling in love with the nanny. And the reason why I didn't like it so much is because it had accidental pregnancy, and I don't like accidental pregnancy, and I didn't check the trigger warnings, which was on me. And then Sunlight was about another cowboy romance, and it's someone that doesn't like each other, but they need to move into the house next to them because if it's wintertime and their current house is horrific. So they move next door to someone they hate, and they fall in love. Idea Enough because it has accidental pregnancy in it. I don't know what the vibe was going on with. I got 2 back-to-back books. And then Wildbound is the 2nd book in a 2nd book in the fantasy series, which talks about there being like something wrong with magic, and it's going into humans and making them sick. And these 2 people who are like shapeshifters pretty much, who have to go and investigate. And these people that are shapeshifters, they get 3 forms that are animal based, and they don't pick them. They become them in like moments of stress or attacks, and they can shift into any human, which is a really cool concept. And then to start this actual video off the right way, I read Accomplice to the Villain, and it's the 3rd book in the Assistant to the Villain series, and I fucking loved it. This book was exactly what I needed after what I just went through with those 4 books. If you don't know about this series, it's very famous, like very, very popular on social media. It is marketed as Once Upon a Time meets The Office, and that is such a great way of describing it because it's bantery, and it has like those magical aspects of people have different powers and stuff, but it's so bantery. Like it has a very dry humor just like The Office does, and I adore it. Like I adore it. It's just so fun. It's essentially this girl named Evie is hired by this guy who's known as the villain. She gets hired by him to be his assistant, and she's like down bad for him, and he's secretly down bad for her, but he won't admit it because he's so evil. And it's so good. And I was reading the 3rd book today because it just came out last week, I think, and I read the audiobook, and I literally listened to the whole thing today. All of it. A 15-hour audiobook I read today. I loved it. 5 stars. This one especially hits so good with the bantering. Like I kept finding myself like covering my mouth, being like, ee! And like giggling to myself. Like it's genuinely so good. And like, is the plot amazing? No, but like I think it's like one of those comfort books where like you want the dry humor, you don't want the amazing plot. And I just love that the villain won't say that he's in love with her. It's so cute. It's so cute. He's like, I'm not in love with you, but then he like literally goes out of his way to only care about her. Like he hates everyone until he meets Evie, and then he's like desperately down bad for her, like protecting her, taking care of her, and he's like, but I'm not in love with you. And the series is really good, and there is a fourth book, which I did not know. The series just keeps going, which I'm not complaining about because I really do love it, but I also really need to know what happens because this book, I thought I knew what was going to happen, and I finished it, and I'm just so confused. And now I need to go, like, read some fan theories to see what everyone else is thinking because I'm like, oh my god, is this author going in the route that no one expected her to be going in? I don't know. It's really good, and it's another one of those series that I found out because of TikTok. But it's actually so good. Like, don't let it be a TikTok book sway you from not reading it. It's a really really fun time, especially if you like The Office or like Parks and Rec, those kinds of shows. It very much has that kind of humor in it, and I think they're a lot of fun. So that is the fifth book that I have read this month, and I'm essentially not going to tell you what I'm going to read next. I'm just going to film every time I finish a book. So that's how it's going to work. And hopefully I like, after this one, I will decide how I'm going to do the monthly format because this is all the ideas I had. So after this, in September, we'll have a format that I do every time, pretty much. Yeah, I needed this. I desperately needed this. It's a 5-star. And after the 4 books that I went through last week, I really needed a really great book to remind me that I love reading. Because after the books last week, I was like, do I even like reading? Is it even a hobby at this point? But this reminds me that this is the whole point of reading. A good book where you don't want to put it down and you're also like giggling and being happy and like, I genuinely like, I read it in the shower. Like, I did not want to put it down. Like, when I realized that I had finished the book, I was like, oh my god, it's been 15 hours? I was like, what? It's been 15 hours? So good. I would really recommend this read to anyone. Anyone. You go read it. You go read it right now. And the author is super nice. I love following them on TikTok. Okay, hi. I just got done streaming. I read an entire book today on stream. I streamed for 8 hours and finished an entire book. I'm very proud of myself. But I read Foxglove by Adeline Grace, which is the second book in the Belladonna series. If you do not know what Belladonna is about, it is following this main character who everyone that's ever taken care of her has died. Like, giving, like, series of unfortunate events level of, like, dead. Like, they just show up and then they somehow, she's not killing anyone, but it's in that same level of, like, they just show up and then their guardians just when they do. So, like, she's been orphaned since a baby. Like, her parents, like, there was a situation with at a ball, and her parents and everyone out in the room pretty much died, and she's like the only survivor of it, and no one really knows why she survived. And now every time she goes to her guardian, they also die, and everyone just thinks that death follows her. And she only has one potential guardian left, which is the Hathorns, and she goes to live with them. And the father Hathorn, he is grieving the loss of his wife who just recently died. So he's like drinking, he has a lot of problems, and his daughter is now very, very sick. And the main character suspects that it's poisoning, like that someone's poisoning her. So she must figure out the culprit of who is poisoning her cousin, but she also has to figure out what's going on with her, like why is death just lingering around her? And also how she can stop it, because obviously, you know, if she keeps going places and keep killing people, it makes her look very suspicious. So it's a very interesting book, like with death, and there's a shadow daddy, and I thought the Belladonna was amazing. I gave it 5 stars, and I had to read my notes because it's been like over a year, but I said that it was like a slow start, but it ended up being very interesting. I thought Foxglove was amazing start to finish. Like, the writing was really fast, the writing was very good. I had no problems reading it. I wasn't bored at all. I was able to just jump right back into the story with very minimum issues of like remembering things. I think it did a good job of like summarizing what happened in the last book so that you could jump into the story immediately. And I think the third book is about a different character that's mentioned in this one and has been mentioned in the first one. But it's like a different main character. Like the main character we get in the first two is Signa. I think that's how you say her name. And the third book is Blythe. So I think that the Foxglove did a really good job about setting up Blythe's story while still wrapping up Signa's story. And I'm assuming that Signa will still be in the third book. I know that there's a novella coming out in September called Holly. I think it's September, I can't remember. But I think it did a really good job of setting up all those characters' stories so that we can, like, get what we need, but then also have clues for what's coming up. And I really, really enjoyed it. And there's a lot of bantering and tension. I think it's a good book. I think it's very, very good. It's like a YA fantasy, but I think that people that are even adults could read it because the writing isn't like immature or childish or like really young. Like it's wrote very like I think it's like borderline YA to adult because the writing is so heavy at times and it feels so mature for the audience of it sometimes. Not that, YA books can't be dark and deep and scary. I just mean like there's some fade to black scenes and stuff like that and I just feel like the audience is kind of like teetering between like YA and, like older adults could probably both enjoy it. Like it's like that line of like both people can enjoy it. I think it's phenomenal, and I'm really excited to read Wisteria. I'm supposed to read it later this month, and it was a really great time. Like I said, I read it all on one go on stream. I was talking about it on stream, saying how much I enjoyed it, and I think it's a 5-star for me. I don't know if I love it as much as the first one because the first one had a lot of bantering and tension and like a love triangle going on, kind of, and this one is like a lot more serious, but the plot is better. Like we lost some and we gained some, so it's like equaling out. Like it's still a 5-star, but there are like some elements that I enjoyed more in the first one than this one, and I am really excited to know what happens in Blythe's book. I'm like very itching to get to this, so I'll probably read it soon. But yeah, this is what I read today. Okay, hi. It is like 10 p.m. on Sunday, and I'm just not making this video because I had to finish a book before I could talk about the other book. But I finished A Promise of Periodt and A Reign of Rose. The reason why I didn't film the clip for A Promise of Periodt is because I then immediately started A Reign of Rose, and then I got the details mixed up in my head. Not that I'm going to really give spoilers anyways. I thought since I read them back to back and the details were all meshed in my mind, it'd just be easier to talk about them together. So the Sacred Stone series is following Arwen, who is a special kind of healer who has actual healing powers, and her brother does something that's like breaking the law, and the prince comes for his life because he broke the law. And in exchange for her brother's life, she agrees to go to the Onyx Kingdom to be his healer. And it's not just any prince, though. It's like the Prince of Darkness. Like, he has shadow powers. He's dark and broody. He's not known for being very nice. And she makes the sacrifice of being like, okay, I will come with you to be your healer as long as my family will be taken care of and no one will be prosecuted. And they make up like an agreement of like how long she'll have to work for him. And she goes with him to Onyx Kingdom, and then things are not what they seem. He's not how he seemed. She's not who she seemed. There's a lot going on. There's a fake prophecy. There is multiple enemies in the background that we don't really know about. And then books 2 and 3 is us trying to defeat the bad guys, figure out how to defeat them in the first place, what the prophecy even means. And there's so much that happens in these books. They're so well written. The plot building is amazing. And I really thoroughly enjoyed them. A lot of people have asked if she plans on writing any more in this series because she hinted at a few things. There is something that is questioned and not really answered. So a lot of people think that there's going to be a spin-off series about that character, and I think the author has said that it's in the works, but like it's not like confirmed, doesn't know whenever it would happen. It's like an idea that she has to do in the future, which I think is fun. I will say, I guess the entire ending of this book, very early on, like not early on into book 1, but like very early on into book 3 when things are really starting to happen, I was like, I think this is gonna happen. And was I right? I'm gonna like, I don't want to give spoilers because I don't want to. It's one of my favorite series, so I want people to actually read it. But I guessed how they fulfill the prophecy. Like almost the entire process. But I don't think that's a bad thing because books 1 and book 2 gives us a lot of clues. So it's not like it came out of the blue. It was like a harebrained idea that I came up with my own. Like it was like, I think I was following the clues, and I think I figured it out before the main character did, but I don't think it was like a bad thing. Like I don't think it's a bad thing that I did it, because I actually think that if it would have been different, I would have been mad. If what I thought was going to happen didn't happen, I would have been mad because then it would have been stupid for it to not have happened. So me guessing the ending is actually, I think, bettered myself, because if it would have been a different ending, I would have been like, what the hell? Like, you had that situation that you could have done and you didn't, but thank God she did. I will say book 1 is not very spicy. Like, it's like a 1 pepper. Like, you know, pepper, like the spiciness level. And I would say book 2 and 3 are way more spicier, probably like 2, 3 spicy peppers. It's not like detailed smut, but they do have a lot of sex. And they be going lots of rounds. But it's not like detailed. And some of it is fade to black. But I will say it like increases in smut with each book. So like book 3 definitely has the most amount of smut. And I will say, I think my favorite book out of the series is still book 1 because it had so much bantering and tension to it. And I was like obsessed with the main male character at the time. And now that they're together, it kind of got like domesticated and alpha male kind of vibes. Like when they were like enemies to lovers in book 1, it was like I was so engaged with their love story. But once I actually got together and they were being like lovey-dovey back and forth, I was like, okay, well, they're together. Like, like the excitement around their relationship had like dimmed for me, but it didn't ruin my enjoyment of the overall books. Like, I'm giving them all 5 stars. It's a 5-star series, in my opinion. There's nothing about it that I would change. I just would say that I wish that the bantering would have been throughout the entire book series. There's a lot of war happening in book 2 and 3, so I can understand why there's not a lot of bantering, because like you can't really be romantic when you're literally fighting for your life. I just wish there was a bit more romanticness in them, more than just smut. Like, we get a lot of smut, but I wish there was more romantic actions and moments. But like, I wouldn't say that I would rewrite the book for those things. That's just like a thing that I personally would have given it like a even higher rating in my head for. But it's really good. It's really good. I think I would recommend it to like any beginner-friendly fantasies. Like I've said a couple of times, it's very similar to ACOTAR, but not wrote by a piece of shit. Like if you want like a very beginner-friendly with a dark, broody main male character who has wings and who has powers and who is grumpy but only really loves her, and there's a prophecy and there's a lot happening, like very, very ACOTAR vibes. And I do think it's going to be very similar to ACOTAR, where like there's going to be a spin-off for each couple. And I think that'd be really fun. It's wrote very well. And if you don't want to support SJM, but you want a book similar to that, this is what I would offer up. And they're like quick, like less than, I think it was like 450 pages was the longest one. They're, I think, very easily found in like Libby. Not too much brain energy required to read them. I think my favorite part about them is actually the side characters. The side characters are so fun. Like, you don't just get the main characters, you get a bunch of side characters as well, and I like their stories are like included throughout the books, and I think it was really fun to get to know these other characters as well. And yeah, I'm giving them both of them 5 stars. They were called A Promise, A Periodt, and A Rain of Rose by Kate Golden. Okay, hi. It is August 19th, and I just finished The First Lost by J.D. Litton. This is marketed as like 0.5, like a prequel, but I think it's more like a 2.5 in the series, and it's tragic. And you know it's tragic because it is the main female character's parents' love story, and I don't want to give too many spoilers, but they don't have a happy ending. So, literally, there's a trigger warning at the end of the book, like, oh, you know this is sad. I know it's going to be sad. Read when you're ready. And I'm really wanting to finish this series this month, so I read it. And I cried 4 times. Her parents' origin story, pretty much. Of them, like, meeting and them falling in love. And I thought it was just going to be that, but it actually adds some stuff to the plot that we didn't already know, and it gave some, like, foreshadowing to things that we were going to find out in the 3rd book. The 3rd actual book, which I did already start, because I had to read, like, 70 more pages. So I was expecting this to be just like the love story, like, nothing, like, it's tragic because you know what happens to them. But, like, so I would cry over, like, the simplest thing, like, I cried about apples. And you'll know when you read the book. If you read the book, you'll know. You'll be like, oh, that's so tragic. I'll never be able to look at apples ever again after reading this book. And I kept, like, crying at, like, sweet little moments between the two of them. And then obviously I cried at the ending when it actually happens. And I just really loved the portrayal of, like, a fae and a human being mates, but like he felt the whole mate bond and she couldn't really feel it, but yet he felt it like almost like double enough for both of them. And I love the fact that they met, like they pretty much met like an apple orchard, and they kept like seeing each other year after year, and neither one of them wanted to make a move until one day they do make a move, and there's like actual plot to it, which I was really surprised by. I learned quite a few things that I wasn't expecting. Like it gave some like it like gave like some foreshadowing of like backstory of events that happened that we didn't know who did those things, and now we know who did them. And I'm like, now that I've started book 3, it's actually really tragic because now that I have all those like backstories in my head, I want to cry. Like the one character is eating apple pie in the 3rd book, and I literally wanted to cry. I was like, not the apples. So yeah, I won't be able to look at apples anytime soon the same way. But it's a really good book. I'm gonna give it a 5-star, which is not even when I gave the second one. It was like 1 a 4-star, but the 5-star, this is great. Like it, I mean, it was tragic, but that's the whole point of it. Like it's meant to be a tragic love story. Like you go into it knowing it's a tragic love story. You don't read this for happy reasons. You don't read this for happy reasons. That's not the point. So I did know it was gonna be really sad, and I really, really liked it. I didn't like being sad, but I liked the plot, I liked the writing, I liked the intimate scenes, I liked the romance. And I'm really hoping that I give book 3 a 5-star as well, because it is almost 800 pages long. The author said that this was like the hardest one to write, and the main characters have to really fight for their happy ending. And it's like apparently like 800 pages of pain before you actually get to the happy ending. So I'm very, very nervous. The actual book 2 ended off on quite the cliffhanger. Like, I don't want to give spoilers because obviously this isn't like a spoiler vlog, but both main characters are in bad situations when the second book ends, and now we're back into that mindset of like they're separate bad situations and how they're gonna like get over those bad situations and come back together. This author isn't afraid to kill people off or write tragic things, clearly, since they wrote a whole entire book about a tragedy. So that makes me very nervous for some of my favorite characters to see if they make it out alive. I think it has to be a happy ending between the two main characters because it's a contemporary romance, and I think for it to be a romance, it has to have an happy ending. It's a fantasy romance. But I think for it to be considered a romance, I think it has to have a happy ending, but it only has to have a happy ending for the two main characters. Anyone else doesn't have to live, and that's what makes me nervous because there's a lot of side characters that I really, really like. So yeah, that's the 8th book that I've read, and I'm currently reading book 9, and I'm hoping it's probably gonna take me the entire week. Like it is currently Tuesday, it's probably gonna take me the whole rest of the week to read this 800-page book. I can't believe it's so long. But once I finish it, then I will be done with the series, and that will be another one that I can mark off. Okay, hi. It is August 24th, and I have 2 books to give an update on, because I finished both of them like very soon after each other. I had been reading The Last One Standing for about 5 days, because I had a really long week at work, and I was not able to read as much as I was hoping to each day. So 5 days for a book is kind of pretty bad for me. But I did finally finish it, and then on stream yesterday, I did another 8-hour session where I didn't stop until I finished the book, and I read Wisteria by Adeline Grace. So I just finished 2 different book series in a 24-hour span of time. So let me start with The Last One Standing, since I think my last update was for The First Lost, which is like the book before The Last One Standing. So let me just give you my review and what that book is about. So that series, I've kind of explained a little bit. It's about shifters and like this king who's manipulating people, and this girl who has the power of storms, and there's a lot going on that I can't say because it gets really complicated and a lot of spoilers. But this book was almost 800 pages, and at first, when I was first reading it, I was like, oh my god, this should have been broken up into 2, which I still feel that way. Because it's a lot. It's like an info dump. Like, a lot happened in books 1 and 2, but then you read this one, and it's like crazy shit. Like, things are happening all the time. We get so much more information. Things are changing. So many plot twists, so many plot reveals. And I was like so overwhelmed for the longest time where I was like, oh my goodness, this should have been a 4-book series. This should not have been a trilogy. This should have been broken up into book 3 and book 4. And then I finished it. and then I cried, and then I gave it 5 stars. So I'm not gonna lower its rating anymore for that, because it's like is a critique, but it's not enough of a critique for me to like give it below 5 stars, because this book truly freaking wowed me. Like, this book generally made me sick to my stomach reading it from crying. I'm so glad that the main characters got a happy ending. That's not a spoiler because it's like a fantasy romance, so in romance they have to get a happy ending. Um, but I think I'll be thinking about this ending for quite some times, because I think it was so well done, and done in a way that you weren't quite expecting. Like, it wasn't super easy to figure out, and the things like in the prequel book, The First Loss, it got tied into this book a lot. So I'm really glad that I read that when I did. I'm glad I didn't read it after this book, because I almost did. I almost saved it for the end of the series, and I'm so glad that I read it in between book 2 and book 3, because it really served like furthering the plot, and like I kept being like, oh my god, that was mentioned in that book. And yeah, I didn't cry as hard as I did in The First Loss, because The First Loss is meant to be tragic. Don't get me wrong, there is death in this book, because the author does not shy away from killing characters off. Like, they're very not against it, so we do lose a lot of people throughout the series, which is that's just how war is. You can't really have a war with no one dying. But like, there is so much lore and world building that is added to this book, where you think there couldn't be anything else said. There's actually so much said, and I really enjoyed it. I still do think that it should have been broken up into 2 books, but still a 5-star for me. This is the only series, I believe, that the author has out. I think this is their debut series. So for a debut author, this is a really, really good series. And I know that it's a TikTok famous book, but actually it's a really good fantasy. And now on to Wisteria, which is the 3rd book in the Belladonna series, and it is following a new, well, not new as in like never mentioned before, but like not the previous main character, but it's following Blythe, who is now in a marriage of convenience, and it's following like their story of like being married and getting out of that, and there's a whole mystery going on, and I sobbed. And I'm gonna give spoilers because I'm gonna mention this has something in it that devastates me every time that I read it, but I'm gonna give spoilers beforehand. So spoilers for this book. This book has the trope where one of the characters dies and so that they can be reborn later on. So it has that trope of like the love losing their partner, and then they have to find them later on in life. And I cry every time that I read one of those books. Like, that's happened a couple times that I've read a book this year. So it's essentially like, I don't want to give too much spoilers, but and they do get reborn, so they're not dead permanently. But I don't know why it breaks me so badly when they're like could be in love for all that time, but they have to, one of them has to be reborn and into another life, and then they find each other in the other life. That like tears me up. Like, it makes me sob brutally. Like, I was sitting on my couch reading it, and my boyfriend had a friend over, and his friend heard me crying, and they're like, you might want to go check on them. And so Cam came in here, he's like, are you okay? And I was like, this book is just so much sad. It's just killing me. And then that's literally what Cameron saw when he was in here, like, trying to talk to me about the book. I've had to remove 2 books from my TBR because there's just no way that I'm going to get to them with how busy I've been and how little I've been able to read. So I'm removing Collided by Lauren Asher and The Fallen Kiss of Dusk by Carissa Broadbent off my TBR for the month. I just can't get to them. Like, I have 3 other books I have to read in the next week, and I still have to read like 150 pages a day. I'm not even sure if I can do that. But I took those 2 books off because they're like, I wouldn't be completing a series by reading those. The series that I'm keeping, the Tempted by Blood series, if I read those 3 books, I'm done with that series, and that's like the priority for me, is like getting through the series that I haven't completed yet. So they're staying, and I'm hoping to finish those in the next week before the month is over. And I'm hoping they're also 5 stars. But Wisteria is really, really good. I was a little nervous because since there's a different main character, I was wondering if I was going to like them. But I actually think that I like them more than the other main characters that are in the other 2 books. And I know that we're getting a novella next month, and I can't wait. I can't wait with the ending of it, and then I literally cannot wait for that novella. I think it's like a holiday novella, so it's going to be like, I don't know how much plot there's actually going to be, but I am ecstatic to get more of Blythe and Fate. I did not think I was going to love them as much as I did, but I really, truly do. It's so, so good. And it's a really good YA fantasy. I think that any age could enjoy it. Like, I'm enjoying it as like a 26-year-old. It's really, really good. So I have 3 more books to read. So I'll finish those by next week, hopefully. Okay, hi. It's actually the end of the month. It's August 31st. You haven't heard from me in a while because I simply just pushed off filming because I've been really into playing video games like Peak, mostly Peak. Every time I wanted to go film, my friends would be like, do you want to play Peak? And I would go play Peak instead of filming. Luckily, all 3 books that I have read are in the same series, so I can just easily talk about all of them in one go, so like it won't be super confusing. So the last 3 books that I read for the month were in the Severed Signet series. I read 2, 3, and 4. They follow these contract killers that fall in love pretty much. Book 1 was a contract killer and a detective that fell in love, but I read that last year, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. I'm going to talk about books 2, 3, and 4. Essentially, it's a dark romance, but I don't think they're actually that dark until book 4. I thought books 1, 2, and 3 were like fairly normal romance with like just some murder and like some smut, but like it wasn't anything too crazy. It wasn't too descriptive, too much goring like that. I thought they were like pretty, maybe a little bit darker than your typical romance, but like not to me in super dark romance territory either. But it is following, originally it was 2 brothers, and then the other 2 books are friendship brothers that are like brothers because they've known each other for so long, but they all know each other because they're involved with this contract killing organization called Ares, and they all have tragic backstories. Book 4 got super dark, was super triggering. I'll talk about that in a second. But that's like the general gist of the series, is that it's about contracted killers who meet because of the contracted killing, and then they end up falling in love, and they all have like an individual plot that leads up to the bigger plot that unfolds in book 4. I think that's why book 4 is so dark. Book 1 was a detective and a contract killer falling in love. Book 2 follows Silas and Lenny. Lenny is actually hired by Ares to take out Silas because Silas has killed one of the top members, his brothers. Killed, supposedly. Like, we don't know any different. Like, there's not any proof. It's just said that he was the one that killed. So she is hired to kill him. But when she arrives, she's, like, extremely attracted to him. They're extremely attracted to each other. And he fights back. And they have several rounds of going back and forth trying to kill each other. But for some reason, neither one of them can kill the other one. And we all know what the reason is. It's because they're in love. So the story follows them. And she's like, I have to kill my Mark. He's supposed to be another Mark for me. Why am I getting feelings? And Silas is like, I'm not who you think I am. Like, Silas doesn't even remember who he was. Like, he had a brain injury at 16, and he has no memories before being 16. Doesn't even remember his own name. He had to get a fake name. And doesn't know, his parents didn't know anything. Like, it's all just gone. So you have to investigate, like, what happened to Silas, who he really is. And you do find out at the end of the book. So that follows book 2. Book 3, which was my fucking favorite, is a marriage of convenience between Kai and Amelia. Amelia is like a head of like a mafia family pretty much, and she is going to be forced to marry someone by her father, and she's like, I'll find who I want, like as long as I marry someone, that's all that matters to him. He pretty much wants his daughter to be sold for good, like sold into marriage, like for power or like reputation, something. So he lets her pick like who she marries, and she ends up picking Kai to marry, even though they never really met before. Like, they have really no interactions, but she just knew his brother and was like, well, your brother's taken, so I guess I'll take you. So he goes to live with her, and they have their own story because Amelia's warehouses keep getting exploded, and we don't know why. Like, there's an inside source that she has to figure out who it is. And Kai, I love him. He's definitely my favorite. He's so hot. The chemistry between the two of them was so good. This is definitely my favorite. It was actually the shortest, which makes me so mad. Because of course my favorite of the series just so happened to be the shortest. So I needed more of them. I needed so much more of them. So there's just more of like figuring out who the rat is in their midst, who's giving them the information. So book 4 follows Santano and Amara, I think their names are, and he is a club owner and she works for him as a stripper pretty much, but she has a really dark history. Like, some really bad stuff happened to her, so she had to run away and she had to change her name, and he is intrigued about who she is. And through her, we get how all the other books connects into like the big plot, and that's where it gets really triggering. So I have to give a little bit of spoilers, but spoilers for triggers. Book 4 has sex trafficking. Yeah. Book 4 has quite a bit of mentions of sex trafficking. There's a couple sexual assault scenes. There is a lot of murder, a lot of gore. There's a lot of like dicks being cut off and things happening to them after they've gotten cut off. It is really dark compared to the other ones. So if you're interested in reading this series, I would look into the trigger warnings of book 4 before you even start book 1. Because like I said, books 1 through 3 I thought were relatively tame. Book 4 was like on a whole other level to its own. Like the first 2 chapters are sex trafficking. Like you literally start the book and it's like the girl's being sex trafficked. And there's a lot of like she goes through, like I said, there's a lot of sexual assault scenes. I was not prepared by how dark this book was, but I was like, it wasn't like enough to like make me stop the book because it was done for a reason. Like it was her backstory, so it was all in the past. It wasn't like any the dick cutting off is in the present, but like the sex trafficking and the sexual assault stuff, that's more in the past mentioned. So I thought since it was like not happening regularly in the actual plot of the book, it was something that I could stomach. But when I say everything I thought was going to get wrapped up so nicely until the extended epilogue. And then in the extended epilogue, everything goes to shit. So spoilers for this entire series, really, if you're going to read it, I would stop listening here. But in the extended epilogue, it is from the point of view of one of the main character's kids 14 years later, and he accidentally kills another one of the guys' kids. And it's like, oh my god, he's always wanted to kill me, and now he definitely has a reason because they get into like a motorcycle accident, and he didn't know who it was, and well, he didn't kill him on purpose. Like it was a motorcycle accident, and it was like 14 years later after the events of this book, and that's literally how it ends. And it's like to be continued. So I end this book, and I'm like, what the fuck? So I go and check. This book's not even close to being done. Like it's not out. It's not even in the works. It's just been like teased with a title, and that is it. And I was like, oh my god. Oh my god. I was like, how am I gonna end on that note? Like, because when I was reading the story, all of those kids were super young, like 4, 6, 12. So 14 years later, they're adults pretty much, and one of them gets killed, I believe. Well, you don't know if she's dead, but it's implied that she's dead because she's like on the ground, not moving. And he's like, "Oh my god, her dad's gonna kill me," and that's the end of the epilogue. That's it. So I'm just gonna act like the extended epilogue didn't happen and that this all ended on a happy, great note, and everything is totally fine. um, so this was the book 2 was called Tempted by Blood. Book 3 was called Bound by Betrayal, and book 4 is called Liberated by Sin. And they were really, really good. I gave book 2 a 4-star, book 3 a 4.5, and a book 4 a 4-star. So like an overall 4-star series for me. And now when this next book comes out, that's like the 14 years later, I'm gonna be fucking sad because I need to know what's happening. And it's like gonna be the next generation, so like the books are gonna be following the kids. So like we're gonna see all those kids grown up and getting their own romances, and that's gonna be super interesting. I've never really seen many authors write an interconnected series and then do a second gen to that series where it's all the kids grown up getting their own loves. I love that idea, and I hope it's done well, and I hope it's done soon because I am sat and ready for it now. This book came out literally a year ago, and as of today, there's no mentions of it coming out. So it might not come out until 2026 or 2027, and now I wish that I wouldn't have read it because now I'm like, why? So those are the last 3 books that I read. As you can see, I have lots of feelings. So this brings me to a total of 13 books. I did not get to 2 of them. I just didn't have time. This month has been insane. So busy with work. I've been working over my normal time off. I've been doing a lot of streams, which don't get me wrong, the streams are really fun, but streams tend to take away my time from reading because typically I'm playing a game. Also, like I said, the Peak obsession. I've been putting away responsibilities to play Peak. I'll do better about that. So I'm sorry that these weren't like my immediate reactions once I finished the book, but at least you're still getting them. I think that it works out well. And I'm going to give you the stats overall for the month now before we end the video. So I ended up reading a total of 13 books, 5,049 pages. I listened to 32 hours of an audiobook, and my average rating is a 4.56. Wow. Okay. So it looks like I gave 7 5-star ratings this month. I keep getting a lot of 5-star ratings lately, and I'm not complaining because holy cow, do I deserve it. Like, at least I didn't get to 2 books because I was reading 5-star books. You know what I mean? Like, since I didn't read 2 of them, it's balanced out by the fact that I had 7 5-star ratings. Like, that's really, really, really good. I'll take it. And I'm going to try to get to those other 2 books in September. My September TBR is 15 books, but they're shorter books, so I'm hopefully that I can just stick in 2 extra books and it won't be a problem. Can I just say that I finished 5 series this month? That is so good. I finished the Savno Signet series, Rogue X Arya series, the Belladonna series, the Sacred Stone series, and the Forestborn series. So out of all of this, even though I missed 2 books, I did so well. I had a lot of 5-star ratings, and I finished 5 series that I've been in the middle of for like a year. So I think I did great. Personally speaking, I think I did my best. The other books that I read were romances, and I didn't really love them. So I think in November, after I have Friday do my TBR for October, I think in November I'm going to do a read the next book in the romance series. And it's like, if I don't like it, I'm cutting the rest of the series, because some of these series are really long. Like the Chestnut Springs, I think I still have 4 books to go. So I think I'm going to read the next one, see if I like it. If I don't like it, it's out. It's out. No more. I'm taking the whole series off. But thank you so much for watching. I hope that you really enjoyed my August wrap-up. I hope that everyone had a really lovely month. You can tell me what your favorite book was. Oh, I didn't even tell you what my favorite book was. Holy shit. What was my favorite book? Oh god, that's hard. I had so many good books. Wait, I didn't even think about that. I need to tell you what my favorite book is. Oof, oof, oof. Like I said, I had 7. Honestly, I think it's gonna be a tie between Accomplice to the Villain and Wisteria. Accomplice to the Villain was just perfection of like fun time. It was silly. It was goofy. It had drama. It had kissing. It was really, really good plot, and it was so easy to get through. I read it in one day. It was exactly what I needed after like my first week of reading going badly. Accomplice to the Villain was just perfection and exactly when I needed it. Wisteria was genuinely probably the best book that I read, like plot-wise. So like I think it's gonna be a tie, because Accomplice to the Villain was like the best book that like I enjoyed like emotions-wise, but like plot-wise, it's Wisteria. I think in my spreadsheet I'm gonna put Wisteria down for my bracket. But yeah, I can't believe I almost forgot to tell you what my favorite book is. But Wisteria made me cry. It put me through all the emotions. The plot was really amazing. It was a marriage of convenience. If you can't tell, a marriage of convenience is one of my favorite tropes ever. So yeah, this is the August wrap up. And like I said, you can tell me what your favorite books is, and I will see you guys next time in September. It's almost fall. It's almost spooky season. I'm so ready. I'm so ready for it to be fall, for me to be able to not be sweating profusely every day because it's so hot outside. It's going to be great. I'm so excited. I have lots of ideas planned for the fall, and I'll see you guys when I see you. Bye-bye.